Map balance and community features, oh my. My name is Gravity, and on this episode of the Battlefield Show, Julian and I are talking single player. Will a new single player experience in a future Battlefield game benefit the series? Next, Vince Sampella says that DICE strayed a little too far from what Battlefield is with 2042. A little too far? Also, communities. DICE wants to win back the Battlefield community. What really is the Battlefield community, and does it really matter at this point? Finally, custom modes and map design. What should the priorities be in the remaining 2042 seasons? Joining us this week are Twitch streamers EnergizedKnight and Dreklo, who help us tackle these questions. This is the Battlefield Show.
All right, welcome back to the Battlefield Show, everyone. I'm your host, JulianJanganoo, joined here by my co-host, Gravity. Welcome back. We're also joined here by two lovely Battlefield community members here. Welcome back to the show, EnergizedKnight. He's been with us a couple times already on a few roundtables and a one-on-one, which was like a long time ago. I think it was at the beginning of one of my seasons. I think it was like season 2 or 3 or somewhere around there, where I kind of changed things up a little bit. So welcome back to EnergizedKnight and his new friend here, a Dreklo, which we've discovered through EnergizedKnight, and they do a whole bunch of like cooking shows and stuff we'll get into later. But Dreklo, I'm going to start off with you, my man. How are you, and how did you get into the Battlefield community?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And honestly, I just started streaming Battlefield 5 just like April or so of like last year, just in anticipation for 2042, because Battlefield has always been like my favorite FPS series. I got into it with 1942 doing like LAN bot stuff with my friend. And ever since then, it was kind of like my favorite FPS series, and I wasn't really streaming back then, so it's hard to even know about, networking and whatnot. But
No.
that kind of got me into it. It was just 1942 and just playing all the expansions and going from there.
So how'd you meet up with EK? How'd that all happen?
Very funny story, actually.
Let's hear it.
Well, while the Battlefield community was not very, not most of us were, or many of us were not completely satisfied with 2042.
Sure.
We were trying new things. So we tried Leap. We were doing the play test for this game called Leap. And I met Energized there. He came into my stream. He's like, "Hey, is this a band I like?" And I'm like, "This is not Death Grips. No, but who are you? Because that's my favorite band." And then that was it.
And phone numbers were exchanged, and love at first sight. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
so
that's all. Yeah, that's it.
Rest is
So
history.
you're both out of Florida, right? Energized. How'd you meet up with Dreklo IRL?
Well, so I was looking to move from Orlando to somewhere else. Just couldn't
Right.
find a good apartment complex in Orlando that I was satisfied with. And Dreklo over here in Tampa, I was like, hey, it'd be kind of crazy if I moved to Tampa, right? And he's like, hey, yeah, that'd be crazy. Here's a bunch of apartment complexes. So I was just like, all right, let me just go through that list. And I found one that was on his list, and it worked out perfect like that. And then I was like, you want to come on over? And he's like, yeah. And then he got that. Okay, just come on over. And then there you go. Been doing a lot of cooking streams, meeting up, hanging out, going to shows and stuff like that. And 2 months here, been a great time so far.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
And so when it comes to Battlefield and streaming, you got your first take on 2042. So let's start from the beginning. How was that experience playing this wonderful game here? Any of you guys can start, really.
What, starting on 2042 from the beginning, or?
How was that like? You
I
you
mean,
guys met around that time.
Well, it was like a few months into 2042 when Leap was under play test, but
It
before
was
that,
January, the playtest.
yeah, January around then.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh,
like
right,
yeah.
right.
yeah, January, February, and even into March and April. Those 4 month block, Battlefield 2042 was like really not doing well on Twitch or the game itself. It was like dropping down to sub 2,000, sub 1,000 players on Steam. Like that's how bad it was. So like everybody was looking for something else to play. Leap was in playtest. Unfortunate on how it launched. If you're familiar with how that game launched, it was like, hey, we're going live. Oh yeah, we're charging you money. Oh yeah, no promotion for it. So that's why I kind of DOA'd.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was kind of rough, but the
Yeah.
playtests were fun, and that's how I met Dreklo as I popped into one of his streams, and I was hanging out there and had a good vibe, and then continued conversations beyond that. But as for the 2042 aspect of things, like I said, just the game was not doing so hot, so everybody was looking for something new to play.
What about you, Dreklo? What was your experience playing 2042?
I actually, when I first played the alpha test, like the one that was like back in the summer, I was like, I don't know what this is right now. I don't know what I'm playing. This feels like I'm playing Warzone right now or something. And there wasn't like Sundance or anything like that yet. And then we played the beta, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'm getting the hang of it. A lot of interesting new parachute mechanics, very large maps. And then the game came out, and I started playing Sundance. And I've always been a Conquest guy. Like that's just like the staple to me of the series.
Right.
And playing a Sundance, I started to have some fun. I was like, I'm having a lot of fun, but man, those it was hard to have the rose glasses over all the issues that we all know it had, like whether it was like performance or bugs or whatnot. And I just put a lot of time into it regardless. And I've had my fun with it. I'm at like 950 hours at this point. I've had a lot of fun with it, but it's definitely I only play Sundance and I only use the Scar because that's my main gun since November, and now it's super overpowered.
Sure.
But I like to just fly around in Conquest with my recoilless, which I will no longer be able to use anymore because they're taking that out of the assault class. I have my recoilless, my S04, the armor piercing grenade launcher, and my anti-armor nades. So I just kind of like just hunt everything down throughout a map, in Conquest, and I've had my fun with it, but it's not the same as Conquest from Battlefield 3 or just Battlefield 1. Any Battlefield is very different.
So you take that as a good thing, like they went towards a specialist. They gave you like a cool little gear set and a wingsuit. Is that like a totally different type of way of playing Battlefield for you that you think is a positive thing, or is it more of a negative thing to you in comparison to older Battlefield games?
It's almost like not a Battlefield game, not in a bad way, but it's a very different experience ultimately. Like just flying around with a wingsuit on a much larger map, still doing classic Battlefield moments where I'm flying and I pull out a recoilless at Sundance and I shoot a helicopter or a jet down while I'm in midair and I come down. Like that's a staple of a Battlefield thing, but the maps were so much larger than I'm used to, and the engagements were so much more distant. I mean, I've had my fun with whatever they were trying to deliver, but compared to like map design from BF1, map design from BF3, just the flow of things, just
Right.
Everyone always talks about the atmosphere and the immersion. It's definitely not as clean, not as polished, and the level of like just how the gameplay flows, it's just definitely not the same. At least in Conquest, for me, it's not the same at all. I've had to make fun in Conquest. I made like a tutorial. It's like, here's how to have fun in Conquest. Only play a Sundance, so you don't have to run everywhere. Only use a Scar, so you have armor piercing grenade launcher against vehicles because they're everywhere, and then use a recoilless. And that was like, but that's only one way to play like the whole game, and there's so much,
Okay. And you mentioned you lost your Gold Rush edition of Bad Company 1. And you're really sad about this. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Oh, it's somewhere here. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere in the house. Bad Company 1 was when they brought the new Frostbite engine with the destruction. I was just like in awe. I think the one right before that was 2142. That was the game that came out right before Bad Company 1. I think it was 2142.
Grav,
because 2142.
That was the last of the
Refractor?
Last PC one.
Refractor engine.
Last of the Refractor was 2142, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. and luckily I also was a console guy. I had both, so I was in good hands. I was like, I'll just play some Battlefield Bad Company 1, and I was just from the campaign, but to the destruction, the new engine. It was just like, oh god, this is insane. This is insane. So I miss my Gold Rush edition. I'll find it.
And that was the first
Yeah,
Battlefield game with
but-
an actual campaign as well.
Yeah.
Energized, I know you came off a little later to the franchise, right? You said it was BF3, right?
Yeah, I didn't start playing video games until 2011, so there's that. But I didn't get introduced to the Battlefield franchise until about a month before Battlefield 4 came out. My friend was like, "Hey, there's this Battlefield game thing. You should try it out." And it was Battlefield 3 TDM, no shark and ass, 24/7. Going from Black Ops 2 into that, I found my spot. So I played that for a month straight, and then I got Battlefield 4 came out, and then I attempted to play that game as much as I could. So. Because the 360, there's a fun bug where if you loaded it in DOM breaker, it would crash your console. It was awesome.
What?
Yeah, every time, without fail.
Oh god.
Okay, that's a Battlefield moment right
There-
there.
The history of the series has some great, crazy bugs
Mhm.
everywhere. Yeah.
I've gone back and played
insane
Bad Company
ones.
2 as well. It was given away
Oh, you
for free.
did?
Yeah, it was given away for free on the 360 at one point, and I went back and played that. Played through the campaign a couple times, and got a few games of Russian when there were some servers available. But I don't have a huge amount of experience in that game.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about the single player on that because the future of the franchise is bringing that back. The Seattle-based Ridgeline Game Studio is developing the brand new single-player campaign aspect of the new Battlefield game. So, from having experience with Bad Company and those characters, I mean, I'm guessing you guys played Bad Company 2, a single player as well.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you got an idea of like what those characters are like. There's some comedy there, like comedy, and some really good personalities there. Is this something you think, even to GraViTyXIII too? Is this something you guys would expect for the next Battlefield game, or more like super serial kind of stuff? Like, I don't know.
I would expect it to be very
Yeah,
serious.
GraViTyXIII. Yeah.
I really would. I would think that with the way that they're probably going to take it, it's probably very inspired by Call of Duty. That maybe they'll see kind of like an interweb of interconnection of different franchise characters and games of at least what they want to build now. But like maybe they'll have a hint of a specialist from 2042 in a single player campaign or something like that. But I think it'll be much more down to earth and much more grounded and realistic rather than comedic or cheesy.
Is that something you would want? Something more serious, or
I think that's the way
just
the
kinda
game series should be taken.
Okay.
I don't preferably care one way or the other because I really don't feel that I'm going to be playing a single player game more than once, if at all.
Yeah, right. And Dreklo, what about you? In terms of single player.
I had a blast with the Battlefield Bad Company 1 campaign and the second campaign because there was so much emphasis on destruction and just having a little bit of that sandbox element. You're driving through the squads, cracking jokes. You're like hunting down gold bars and stuff. At least in the first one, I had fun with that. And then the change thematically all around, even just from the engine, from Bad Company 2 to Battlefield 3 was massive. Like not just like, oh, you can pro now, like the score, the tone, like GraViTyXIII was saying, like you guys were saying, like it went from like a dark comedy to like very serious. You got like nuclear threats, whatnot. And I'm excited to see what they do. However, single player for me is, I'll put it this way. Battlefield 1, for example, and even Battlefield 3, and just what makes Battlefield good, the game already as a multiplayer game sometimes feels like you're playing a single player cinematic experience. It's just that like immersive. So I'm cool with them doing a single player thing, but if they just make the multiplayer immersive as it is, like really immersive, then I already feel like I'm getting that, if that makes sense.
I feel like the only thing
But I'm excited.
I feel like the only real reason to play a single player Battlefield game is one, if the power's out, and two, if if the internet's out, and two, if it actually is required to unlock certain weapons like there was in BF4.
Yeah, what do you think?
That was a thing?
That was a
Oh,
thing.
what?
Yeah, it was a thing in BF4. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I am hesitant about the campaign. I mean, I don't. Again, as to Gravity's point as well, I probably only played like once or twice, but I still want it to be a good experience. Don't want it to be a bad experience.
Sure.
I'm hesitant about it because they keep talking about wanting to make the next game in 2042's universe. If they do that, I would expect specialists to make a return to some extent. Ideally, if they want to make a more gritty type campaign, you could have it centered around some of the grunt type characters, and then have a specialist or two be like commanders. They make an appearance here. Like Irish makes an appearance to yell out some commands to your group of guys that you're playing with, that sort of thing. Have it
Yeah,
like
that's a good
a
idea.
cameo type thing. But the center of the story is all about you and your platoon around you. You can do something like that. Or they could go goofy with it and be just all the specialists cracking jokes, having a good time because you're removed from the situation. So that's what we got already. I don't know what they're gonna do. But I feel like there's probably going to play some sort of middle ground between those two things. Is what they're most likely going to do if they're going to set it in 2042's universe.
Yeah.
Well,
Right,
you
right.
also have the difference in the campaigns, not just thematically and tonally, but also going from the BF4 campaign to BF1's war stories and BF5's war stories, where all of a sudden you get those different perspectives. That's also a thing to like, I'm contemplating too. Are they going to go down the war story route where you're playing, as one dude in Italy holding the line and this chick in, in
Yeah.
Norway?
I have a feeling they're not going to do that. I have a feeling they're going to pick and choose from what they know already in BF3, BF4, and both of the bad companies, and kind of like make a mixture of something, but with something like brand new. I even have a feeling that they're not going to bring specialists back the way we know them in 2042, because it has too much of a what's the word I'm looking for?
Negative connotation.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's like specialists. Oh, those are bad. Specialists are goofy, and they talk about coffee and climbing up Mount Everest and just being happy about murdering people during a round. And it's
Yeah.
like, we'll go get them again next time, or don't be sad.
Yeah.
Like silly stuff.
That
like
was
that.
it.
I think there's 2
Where's
points
round
here.
2 at?
I think EK1 brought up a really good point where they did announce that they were interested in building on the 2042 universe above everything else, which does hint at that kind of storyline and the specialists coming back. Whether or not the specialists come back, I think as a whole, the 2042 universe has a lot of dark, gloomy, catastrophic, very serious tone and implications that would make for a great single player experience, no matter where you put it on the world. And I think if they went that way, that'd be great.
The X's trailer.
Perfect example. Yeah.
There it is. Like that's what they were trying to go for, I would think. Very serious, very gritty. Showed off like people being hungry, and the streets were flooded, and just garbage everywhere, and things falling over, and people
I still
escaping
often
into storms. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dreklo?
I still often shoot at garbage bags floating
Garbage
around
bag.
thinking it's a Sundance.
And different
because one of the
colors,
biggest
too.
parts one of the biggest parts of the game, like you're saying, like tonally, is like it's about, climate change, it's about pollution, it's about overpopulation, it's about famine, all these things going on, like disease. And then they have garbage bags floating around because it's supposed to represent the plastic issue, etc. And then you have Sundance cracking jokes about let's get round 2 going. Or you'll start off a breakthrough round. It's like, we got to feed our families. If we don't get this like supply post and renewal, like no one's going to be fed. And then it gets to the joke. So yeah, it's like they got to find the consistency.
Well, the new leadership team for the next Battlefield title is ran by Vince Zampella, and I wanted to bring up that tweet. Or no, it was part of an article from Barron's. If you want to bring that up, Gravity, that was talking about some interesting stuff, and they asked him a couple questions about the EA's Battlefield franchise going forward. And I just wanted to like kind of just read it over real quick and maybe get your guys' thoughts on this, including Gravity. We'll probably start with Gravity on this. So this is what he has said. Do you have that up there?
You're referring to
Gravity?
yeah, but trying to do a couple things about DICE being a little too ambitious with 2042. Yeah.
Let me get you the actual article real quick.
Sure.
Boom. So yeah, here it is. So I think about midway down, they start talking about you are in charge of EA's Battlefield franchise going forward. And a lot of people have been talking about this recently, how Battlefield has strayed too far is the quote that they pulled from this.
You know I can't go any further than this because I'm not logged in or subscribed, right?
Oh my God.
It's a Barron's article.
Mine went, yeah, mine was free.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Yeah.
I can, okay, how about this? I'll take a screenshot of it real quick.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, here you go.
That or like copy and paste the text.
Right, exactly. Oops. Did you guys hear that? Yeah. Okay. There you go. Boom.
Vince Zampella is one of my favorite people ever in the industry, so this is interesting for me.
There we go. Perfect. Good.
Yeah. Let me read through this real quick. So, Barron's interviewing via text. I don't think there's a video or anything yet, but interviewing Vince Zampella, who's done a lot of things for Dice LA, Ripple Effect, the Star Wars games, right? Apex Legends, etc.
He created God.
Yeah, all the way Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Dude, like this guy knows everything.
Yeah.
He's a god. He's a god. But the Barron's guys asked him, you're in charge of the EA Battlefield franchise going forward. What do you think happened with the disappointing release of Battlefield 2042 last year? And Vince replied, I think they just strayed a little too far from what Battlefield is. And that's a really interesting quote right there. That's the one that has everyone talking about it. They tried to do a couple of things that were maybe ambitious, like growing the player count, etc. I was wondering what the other thing. He said a couple things, but he only stated one thing. But
it could be the massive weather events.
It could be, yeah. More specialists.
That's true, but you got to remember there was
like
talk of there being a tsunami, and that we never even got that. So yeah,
Volcanoes.
Yeah,
and earthquakes as well.
I heard earthquake and avalanche. That's why I remember in, like leaks and stuff. But anyway, he says I don't think they spent enough time iterating on what makes that fun. In terms of the player count,
that's very true.
It's not inherently a bad idea. And then it just kind of cuts off there, which is kind of weird. But the way they were set up and the way they executed just didn't allow them to find the best thing possible. And then the guy asks, like, what can you say about Battlefield under your watch? And he's like, it's a whole new structure. We're putting multiple studios together. We're bringing the best talent together and giving them the time to do something amazing, which sounds very familiar. Then he asks, what do you think about the traditional shooter category? Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefield, they all disappointed last year. Is it still viable, or has everything moved to more group-driven style battle royale? And he says it's definitely still viable. And I would say EA totally agrees with him on that. So there's a couple other follow-up questions, but that was pretty much the gist of it.
I kind of want to make a comment here on this one, Julian. Because with the new Modern Warfare coming out, there's a lot of talk about its new Ground War, the revamped Ground War coming out, and how the first time Ground War came out, the Battlefield players were like really excited for this because it's the first time Battlefield has ever really had a competitor in this regard. And the way that Call of Duty, which one was it, by the way? Was it Call of Duty Modern Warfare? Or which one?
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2019.
That's what. Yeah.
2019.
I mean, it had vehicles in it, but the vehicles weren't really good by Battlefield standards. They were more simmy. They didn't feel good.
Clunky.
And they had clunky, and they had kill streaks in it, which fundamentally kills any interest a Battlefield player is going to have in the Ground War game mode. And here, this new Call of Duty is going to have Ground War in it, and it's going to have kill streaks in Ground War again, which fundamentally defeats the purpose of Ground War.
I didn't know that.
Battlefield is not going anywhere. The whole dynamic of this quote of Call of Duty, Halo, and Battlefield, the trifecta of FPS AAA gaming, Battlefield is unique in the sense that it is the only one of these three games that has a sandbox world with a ton of players in it, with a bunch of vehicles and infantry combined. It's the only one to do it reasonably well, and it from a AAA studio. Sure, there's PlanetSide, but when's the last time we've ever had a PlanetSide? It's been forever since PlanetSide 2 released. And there's a couple other games that try to implement vehicles like Battlefield does with limited success. The thing is, from a Call of Duty standpoint, Ground War could be a really, really good competitor. There would be Battlefield players moving over there, especially with the state of Battlefield 5 in 2042. I would go play Ground War for hours, for months, if they didn't have kill streaks and if they did vehicles well. If they just dedicate some time and effort to truly making a Battlefield style Ground War experience in a Call of Duty engine and game mode, there is a lot of potential there that would, I mean, you'd pull so many Battlefield fans over there, especially with the state of Battlefield right now. It's ridiculous.
What do you think, EK?
20.
Or Drek? Go ahead, Dreklo. Go ahead.
I was going to say 2042 already has some of the weakest, if not just in general, the weakest destruction I've ever seen in a Battlefield game, like
True.
since Bad Company. And seeing the ground war footage and just open maps and seeing the ground war footage of the newest COD I watched, it was like a big urban, almost like Strike at Karkan looking city that they were like, deploying in. You had like a helicopter, people were like jumping out of like an Osprey or something. That already looked to me like, well, if there's no destruction in 2042, basically, I might as well just play this ground war that has what looks like a better map. It looks like it's going to play smoother, whatnot. And if I just throw on a ghost, because I don't want to die to a predator missile. If I just throw on like a ghost, perk that lets me get shrouded from all the annoying kill streaks, then maybe I can find some more fun in that on a not so open map. Than 2042.
I just don't buy that. One, I feel like if they're going to go all in on ground war, they need to have a dedicated team working on it, because they don't have a lot of experience making open world sandboxy style maps. They only really did the one in the first Ground War for Modern Warfare 2019, and it was an okay map, but it was very small. It was very clustered, very cluttered, very grindish, and then suddenly you had a couple tanks that could just rack up massive kill streaks, and then suddenly on top of that, they've got the kill streak call-ins where you can just call down bombs and the warthogs and things. It's just if they want to make a successful ground war game mode, and they can, because it's not impossible. They're really close. They just have to iron out a couple things. It's map design, it's vehicle design, and it's eliminating the kill streak bonuses from the mode. You tackle those three things, and you have a serious competitor to Battlefield. End of story.
What do you think, EK?
I have COD brain, so I will play it and I will enjoy the kill streaks. So I plan on playing it. I plan on playing it a lot. I'm gonna see what it does for me, and if it doesn't stick, then it doesn't stick. I'm gonna give it a fair shot. Next month is kind of a dead month for 2022 anyway. It's wrapping up the season, and we should be due for renewal changes at the beginning of the month, and then like nothing else. So I'm gonna give it a fair shot. The same thing with Cold War. Cold War has some sticking elements to me. Dirty Bomb in that game in particular, loved it. Played a lot of it. So if there's something in Modern Warfare 2022 that sticks with me, then I'll play a lot of it until I get bored with it and I'll come back to the Battlefield. That's my approach. Could it be better in Modern Warfare 2022? Could they do things better? Absolutely. I believe this one that they're specifically designing maps for Ground War this time, as opposed to just taking bits and pieces from Warzone and making them Ground War maps. So that's one improvement. I couldn't really get a good glimpse of what vehicle balance was like during the beta gameplay, but things like that could change upon release. And then, yeah, definitely if you want to balance score streaks or kill streaks, they definitely need to be more balanced. I was watching some people play and it seemed to get a little spammy at times. That's classic Call of Duty right there. Overall, though, the entire game feels like from what I've seen, it feels like it plays a lot slower as well. I don't know if that's the type of gameplay that I'm necessarily going to vibe with, but I'm going to at least try it out and see how it goes. Kill streaks or no kill streaks, I'm going to try it out.
As long as you're not in ground war, I don't care. It's all good.
Right,
kill streaks for everyone.
I just wanted to really touch upon. What Vince Ampella said for 2042. And he said it strayed too far what Battlefield is. I'm curious of what he thinks Battlefield is.
Didn't he put a tweet out a while ago asking people what Battlefield is?
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yeah, good.
Which is a really interesting thing. If he wants to came to a conclusion about what Battlefield is, yeah.
Well, I'll bring that question to you guys. Like, what is Battlefield other than, it's a sandbox and, only in Battlefield moments. Like, we get that. But yeah, Dreklo, what do you think Battlefield is?
All right.
Is it, such a dumb question.
How
I don't
long
even
you
know why I'm
got?
asking.
Yeah.
No,
like
no,
how
no,
long
no,
you
no.
got?
I'm gonna do it.
It's too
I'm gonna-
general. I'm sorry. But
no,
yeah,
I'm gonna do a slight. Just I am a man of my word. I've played all of these. It is. I don't have the BF1 Rush collection, but I've played all of them. And from my perspective,
Yeah,
what
it's my
Battlefield has
favorite.
always been, the special forces, the repelling. I was like,
My favorite,
that was
dude.
so sick. The combined arms, like Gravity was saying, the combined arms, asynchronous, asymmetrical stuff going on. You have people specializing in, being a pilot. You have people who are like, I want to, like, as if they're almost like playing squad armor. I want to just fly the Ospreys and drop people off, all that stuff. I want to excel at, being the best medic, whatever it is. It's just the combined arm experience within highly detailed and like this is one of the hardest games to balance, I feel like, because you have to make a tank not super overpowered, a jet not super overpowered. Like it's the combined arms, large scale, squad based, like within a team experience. At least that's how it's been for me. Like Battlefield 3, Strike at Karkan, bringing that map back, like just going through the streets with my squad. We're using comms, spawning on them. Stay alive. Like I need to do this. One guy's playing recon, one guy's playing like, support. We're all just doing those different things to like work as a squad and carving out like our own path through the map, seizing flags in conquest, and just feeling like we're part of something really big, yet making big impacts like on like a smaller, like, level, like way just there's so many deep elements. Whereas in, COD, I just play TDM. It's like, okay, just run around, get shot, 360 no scope, whatever. And meanwhile, I'm like, I'm just going to go play Battlefield 3. Like the squad and I are going to do a thing. And there's 32v32. It's just large scale, cinematic, immersive, deeper, less mindless elements of gameplay going on that all kind of add up to just be an experience you can't replicate. Like you really can't replicate Battlefield. I don't know, like Quake Wars Enemy Territory. I don't even know what else I could name.
Yeah, that's a throwback. That's a great game.
Yeah, damn.
For a long time, that was considered to be a Battlefield killer.
remember
that was
that.
threatened. Yeah.
Yes, that's
I
why
love that game. I was like, yeah, same. I was like, that was my game. So you can't really like get the Battlefield experience anywhere else. And I think that's why people are so sad about Battlefield 2042 is because it doesn't feel as much like that, at least with what we've gotten since 2011 with Battlefield 3 and even, Bad Company 2 with like 2009, 2010, whatever it was.
Yeah. It seems like they're kind of slowly putting in those features that you're talking about into the game, which is very odd for a Battlefield game. Like, wait, did I just wait 3-4 months or how? I don't know, 5 months for a scoreboard? Like,
yeah, you did.
Kind of weird. Like, wait, we don't have
Well,
class system. Wait, you are gonna bring it? It's like weird stuff like that.
We're just talking about them bringing specialists back, right? Like the next game's gonna have a specialist-based story. Yet, what for season 3? They're already bringing back what you're talking about. That's the classes, and yet they already have the classes laid out.
Yeah, it's feedback, right? Anyway, Energized.
Yeah.
What is Battlefield?
To me, Battlefield is all about bad maps, poor gun to play, and bad tick rate servers, and overpowered vehicles, underpowered vehicles, DLC that disappoints or does things somewhat well, and then a lot of bugs. That's what Battlefield is to me. So I've been playing, with how the games I've been playing, the Battlefield games I've been playing. That's a running theme, right? So hey, this Battlefield's fantastic, and in my book, I mean, like Gravity made a video a while back, and he's got a liner in there about how Battlefield is a sandbox, but you got to have restrictions on said sandbox, otherwise you have too much freedom, and too much freedom to the player is a problem. So it's a sandbox shooter, but you got to have limitations on what's in that sandbox. And yeah, that's something I totally agree with. Battlefield, it can be good for 64 players, can be good for 32, 16, 8, all the way down to 4-on-4, 4-on-4. TDM or domination. It can be good for all those things. Is it good every time? No. And just every single time there's new one coming out, I just kind of hope that it can get some sort of formula down to allow for those different types of play styles to shine. It's hit or miss lately, the last few releases. So Do I hope for the next one to be better? Of course I do. But it's a tough balance it's a tough line to walk there, and I don't envy the position of being a dev right now for the
Ugh.
Battlefield. So don't envy that whatsoever.
Well, one of the biggest things in what Battlefield is, by definition, is that I'm hearing a lot of people saying it's always been community based. This is a community game, because of the sandboxiness of it, and all of the customizable servers you can have.
Used to.
Or used to have. Brought a yeah, good point. Brought a lot of different types of communities together. All right, clans were made. A bunch of interesting. How do I say it? Like the photographers, in-game photographers. Like with the
Spectator
not the
mode.
kill cam. What was it called?
Spectator
Theater mode. Yeah, exactly. There's stuff like that came on. Those are little weird niche communities that popped up from there and influenced many other games. It ended up bringing up a community test environment that literally saved Battlefield 4, brought a bunch of different people, and influenced tons of games like Overwatch. They said they got the community test environment from what DICE LA did at the time.
Really?
Yeah. And a whole bunch of other stuff from the community, like rental server programs brought in tournaments. You can private your server and you can customize the crap out of it back then. And you can have your own tournaments and things like that. And a lot of competitive events were born from there. But it kind of seems like Battlefield is kind of strayed away from that, from like what Battlefield is as a community aspect driven game. And a really big community leader that I've used to play with quite a bit. And I don't know if you can show this tweet here from Deity. He used to run the AOD clan back in the day, and it was the biggest for I think 2 or 3 games in a row. The biggest Battlefield clan in the entire world. I ended up joining them at one point, and he mentions this here. Let's see if I can bring it up. They built a coffin around the micro community. This is in reaction to what Vincent Pella says about straying too far about what Battlefield is. They built a coffin around micro community gaming without persistent servers and platoons. Straying too far includes foregoing every aspect of what communities need to thrive, let alone survive. Battlefield is not a community game anymore. It's a lobby shooter.
Let me just retweet that right now and like it, because that is 100% a fact. I get into this in a couple of my YouTube videos.
Exactly.
It's just the older Battlefields were so... What DICE considers a community is literally everybody that plays their game. That's it. That's what they consider their community. What we consider communities are the people that joined a server, played on one server in particular for months, joined the forums for that server, joined the TeamSpeaks for that server, went to the events for that server, and literally chatted with and met new people, and literally had their own unique individual Battlefield experience for their server. And once persistent private servers went down, starting at the end of Battlefield 4, with Battlefield 1, they launched... Actually, BF1 launched without private servers at all. The customization options for servers were gone until RSP actually came in. And then BF5 completely got rid of rental servers whatsoever. If you get rid of any ability for these communities to host their own servers, their own rotations, their own maps, their own events, then you destroy those communities, because there's nothing for them to do other than join these lobbies with what BF5 had, 4-man squads, 5-man squads. It's just
right.
Oh, I guess I can only bring 3 friends into my game now. Oh well, that's so much for the rest of my community. It completely destroys any semblance of player involvement or community pipelines that DICE actually needs to have their game survive. And yeah, Deity is 100% right. Platoons is a different story. Platoons came out starting with BF3, and even 2142 had a tag system, which, I mean, yes, everybody has been running their tags forever, but Platoons is kind of even just more of an added bonus in the whole history of communities. It's great that you can actually
Sure.
have a listed partnership with, that shows how involved and how prevalent your group of friends is. But I don't think it's a necessity for the development of the community itself. I think it's a bonus and I think it helps, but I don't think that's I think that this whole private server issue is the bigger point.
Yeah. EK, any thoughts on community stuff?
As a streamer, I was obviously let people want to play, right? I can only have my squad, and then beyond that, people can attempt to join the server I'm in for like Battlefield 5. Let's use Battlefield 5 here. They can
Sure.
join the server I'm in. What I would do is I would micromanage the people that were joining, and if I knew they were good players, I'd put them against me. Just to try and balance out servers. That's the way I could cope with it without having rental servers in Battlefield 5. Is I would try team swapping people up. And then 2042 launches, and we don't have persistent servers, so that goes out the window. That's gone. Like even that, a little tiny bit that I had left to have some sort of control around like balancing sorts of things, that's gone. That's out the window. So that's yeah. And then I didn't play BF4 on PC, but I watched BF4 on PC and the rental server program there with the plugins that they were able to run. You could even like stat track the server, the people that are doing servers, that sort of stuff. That's really cool. That promotes that server over and over again to the same players, and that's how you keep people on servers. And then you get the vote mapping situation as well. That's really great stuff. And it's a shame that all of it went away. It was really cool. With 2042, we had crossplay with that sort of system in play. It definitely would have been a breath of fresh air as a console player. And like Gravity said, platoons add a bonus. It could be in the game, it could be out of the game. You could ask for them for hundreds of days straight and get no response. And it is what it is with those, but definitely persistent servers and rental servers or server plugins, I think, is a very important thing. And I don't think Portal does any of that justice.
And I think another big point here is to differentiate. One, like, we should clarify that Battlefield 4 and prior had private servers. So the game launched with the server software. So anybody could take that, go to a rental server company and say, we'd like to host a Battlefield 4 server on for our community. How much do we pay per month? And then you give us the slots, and then we can remote admin that server. Versus BF1 launched with 0 private servers, 0 software, and then later on did DICE say, we have this rental server program where you pay, and we could, you could rent the server from us, and you can host your limited admin control, but you can customize the server. And to be fair, I think the majority of the BF1 servers that are still populated are the rental servers communities that are still going in that game. The weird thing is there's the amount of server customability. That's another thing about that goes back into communities. Communities had control of their servers with their remote managers. If there's a cheater on that server, that cheater gets banned if somebody's on the server watching instantly. It doesn't. We have cheaters in Battlefield 5 run amok, BF1 run amok. 2042 hasn't been that bad, but the problem still remains. If there's a cheater on your server, the best you can do is leave, because that cheater is going to just stay there because there's nothing to stop them. You can report them to DICE, but it could take weeks, if that.
You can kick as the admin, but who knows if the admin's even there? And there's only one admin.
Well, that's even just on the Portal servers, yeah.
That's on the Portal servers, yeah. So that was one of the biggest complaints during BF1 is that we need more admin slots so I can add, 16 different admins so I'm not, bothered when I'm at work. Hey, ban this guy, dude. You're the only one that can do it in the whole world. It's like, well, this is stupid. Why can't I have like my commanders in my clan do it for me? Like, there wasn't that option at the time. I actually don't even know if they even added more admin slots. They may have. I just don't remember. But like little features like that is what really brought communities together. But I pose this to you, Dreklo. Does Battlefield in the future or even now, does it have to be a community game? And is Call of Duty a community-based game? Like maybe as a comparison?
I mean, maybe before like I think COD 4 on PC was the last one that had server browser. I can't remember if it was before COD 4. I remember playing 64 player servers on COD 4. That felt community based. That felt more community based than 2042 does to me. And like I know on COD 4 on console, you can only play like the traditional 6v6 on the maps, and I'm sitting there playing 64v64 just because of server browser. So 2042 to me is not a community based game. Lack of persistent lobbies, like their attempt at Portal to make it community based is not very like apt. Like, you know, like Energized was saying, when you have plugins like, oh, this guy has 200 hours, you know, logged into this server. He's in here every time. I'm going to recognize that, you know, that moderator or whatever, like he's going to remove a player. Like I go to the club with EK all the time. Every club is going to be like a different server. Every modder is going to be like a different bouncer. There have to be bouncers there to get the people out of there, the cheaters, etc. Like you can go to the club you want to go to. You can go to the server you want to go to. You want to, you know, like it's just going to be like that. If you don't like the artist who's playing, you like the map that's going on or the mode, you just go to another one. But you'll see similar faces. You'll develop like a reputation there, and you can have a fun time seeing the same people consistently if you want in those different servers. That's not a thing with 2042. That's only a thing because the game is so dead. You'll run into the same players at the same time next to their AI who's driving them around. And then, you know, with COD, I don't know how community based that's really been outside of like the COD, like the CDL stuff and people who do game battles online and whatnot. That's always been a P2P, like player to player, you know, host based connection thing until they introduced the skill based matchmaking algorithms where there's no longer consistent lobbies and you don't stay in the same lobby every time. Just like with 2042, you don't stay in the same lobby. You can play Hourglass 10 times in a row before, you know, you play something new. So in that community-based aspect, I don't think COD or 2042 is very community-based, at least right now. COD might be a little bit more so because of their just being what seems to be a lot more in touch with gaming and like gamers right now than with whatever 2042 is. But compared to OG Battlefields and OG CODs, the community-based aspect is just not really there. Like the community-based aspect is going to a Twitch stream and watching you guys and talking to you guys. There's more of that.
Probably why
going
we're
to Reddit,
to
perhaps.
And the outreach and
Right.
support,
Yeah.
and the outreach and support that they continue to maintain for their competitive community, far and away outshines anything that DICE has done in decades. Yeah.
For COD, yeah,
For Call of Duty,
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. I think we got most of that figured. Anybody want to add anything else to why the franchise needs to be community based, or maybe an argument as to why it shouldn't be?
I mean, without the community, the game is just a game that has 0 out of 0 players per server. So it kind of needs to be. They need to be in touch with their players. You know, you can play some of these OG Battlefields, and there's still going to be tons of people on them because they provided the foundation to keep those games alive. You can play so many old Battlefields still, and not just because they're different experiences, but because the community-based elements are there to keep them alive. I can go on Battle Log and I can still see a bunch of servers. With older CODs, that's not as prevalent. You don't really see those games kind of in the mix, and that's, I think, because of that community-based integration. So
yeah, I think it was kind of interesting when the community manager brought up in a dev talk that they weren't going to support or move forward with the server browser for all-out warfare game modes like Conquest, Breakthrough, or Rush. But they are thinking about doing persistent servers for Portal.
For Portal? Well, they did the thing with all-out warfare where you load into a side, you play that side, and it switches the sides. Then you play that, and then you get kicked out. But that switch isn't working properly right now. Like half the lobby leaves, and then it doesn't refill. So
when did they add that?
Yeah, recently,
patch, like 2 patches ago.
Yeah.
I'll play devil's advocate real quick here. When it comes to communities, private servers they do have negatives in the sense that, one, per what Julian said last show with what DICE said about private services, due to their feedback, they were saying that players sometimes say that they have trouble navigating a server browser. I can understand this to a point,
Right.
but I don't understand why this is a difficult learning curve. We've done it for 20 years in Battlefield. We've done it for 30 or 40 years in so many other FPS games. And really, I think it just comes down to the classification of, how open, and this goes back to the whole sandbox idea of how much freedom is too much freedom. If you're going to play on a ranked playset, you should be able to customize certain things on a server, but not everything. You should be able to have different sections where, like, if you have a ranked server browser, you know that you are going to be playing certain game modes with certain rules and restrictions, versus you have a different playset of go nuts. It's no holds barred. It's 20,000 ticket
Right.
metro, all explosives, whatever. That's how it should be. And the other downside of private servers, regrettably, and I do have to point this out, as much as I want private servers back, if you're a streamer, the ability to be stream sniped sucks. And it's so easy to do with a server lobby, with a lobby browser, server browser. We've seen this all the battlefields that go back to BF3 or 4, whichever one we really started using. With that being said, again, this comes down to the part of, if you're playing on private servers, it's really great that if you know you're having stream sniped, you have an in with a community person who mods that server, who can ban your stream sniper out. That is the only way to really counter this effectively, because it is a pain in the ass. And with the lobby system of 2042, at least I know I won't be stream sniped in this way. It sucks, and I would take private servers any day of the week, even with that stream sniping. I really would.
Yeah.
They found a way, just so you know. They always find a way.
They always find a way.
They always find a way.
Monsters.
It's harder. Okay.
I mean, BF5 and BF1 both had quick match ability, right? You just hit the quick match. You just, I want to play Conquest, Strategic Conquest, Tag Conquest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it would put you into a lobby that you could individually find through the server browser, right? That's how that worked?
Sure.
Okay. That was an interesting, to alleviate the stress of someone having to choose a server, you could just hit the quick match, and you're going to get put into something you could have browsed for anyways.
Sure. That's
an interesting way to do it. Yeah.
No problem with that. But the way it works now is that the portal servers are completely on another island. You cannot quick play into any of those custom servers, even based on no matter how many filters you would have. It just doesn't work that way. But that's how, your Battlefield 1, your Battlefield 5 servers were populated. People quick played into those, and that's how you kept it going, or that's how I believe it kept it going, other than your community starting the server up, getting a few players in there to say oh, hey, this server might be alive in a few minutes, so I'll join it real quick, and then we'll fill it up, But anyway, maybe I'm going off a little too much different topic, but yeah, I mean, it was a good talk on doing the community stuff. Did you guys want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, bring back all chat.
And team swap. Yep. All chat.
And team swap. Oh my god.
There's another.
The last thing I was saying.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say that's another one of those community features. Hey, if you can't play with me, I guess you're gonna be playing against me. Oh well, I don't want to play against you. I guess I'm gonna leave the server and go hang out on some other game. Another one of those community features.
Yeah. The last thing I was gonna say is because of that community-based element, and because I was saying how you can still play older Battlefields, I think it was 2 years ago, I just wanted to play Bad Company 2 again on PC, and I could still find Vietnam servers. I was still playing full servers in Vietnam, and I was like, this plays amazing. I have a new graphics card, 140 FPS. I can actually play Vietnam in 2020. I was pretty, mind blown about that. And that's, if it wasn't for the community-based, server browser in general, whatever you want to call it, can't really do that. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on, maybe we can go to so speaking of communities, we can talk about what DICE is kind of doing with featuring community modes. And we did touch upon this in the last few episodes about people embracing chaos modes. like Squid's Rush, so like a community member, he did a 120 player rush, and people went crazy over it because it's just pure chaos. But I wanted to touch upon a new, or what I feel like they should have been doing for featuring community game modes, and I found a really interesting one that actually has a decent Battlefield experience, although the UI is kind of wonky. So what I found was a Portal game mode that had the ability to play as 2042 soldiers, right? The AI were also 2042 soldiers. You can also have access to all weapons, all primary weapons from every single era, BF3, etc., and with a built-in class system that they propose for season 3. And that is something you can actually play right now in Portal. Unfortunately, it's not featured, and that's what I was like wanting to talk to you guys about. Did you hear about this game mode? Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, did anybody? I saw tweets with the footage. Does anybody have that? Because that was nuts.
I saw you on it, Julian. Actually, I was tuning in for a little bit when you were on it.
Yeah, I was
playing
randomly on this, and this is a thing that you can actually. Is this blowing your mind, Dreklo? This is something
they already added.
This.
Someone already did it in Portal, but they haven't released it yet. Like we were talking about, you can play what they've already been talking about, but it's not official.
I think since the beginning, or maybe they unlocked more stuff you can do in the Portal. What was they call it? Gravity. It's
the logic editor.
The logic editor. Yeah, I guess they added more logic editor things. I don't know. I haven't really been following that, but yeah, someone was able to make it. There's a few videos that are featuring it, but it just kind of blows my mind. It's like, why is DICE featuring, chaos modes that have nothing to do with Battlefield, and they're just joke, right? Sure, people can have fun with that. I don't care about that, but you can feature a maximum Battlefield experience that you've had here since launch, plus 2 new maps, right? Which is not a whole lot, but still, you can have everything to an extent. And all they had to do was like update the UI. You don't even need all warfare. Forget all warfare. You can have everything in Portal, and which is what I was kind of hoping for that we could have done. So I don't know. Thoughts on that? Should they be featuring stuff like that or more chaos?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was watching you play that mode, it's very much a kind of janky. Like you had to be like spawned in to switch things up, right? You couldn't like do it in the menus. Yeah,
right.
So I don't think that would get featured, as it's pretty complex for an average player.
Yes.
But if when they eventually start adding that stuff to maybe be able to change in the overhead screen for in Portal, then yeah, we can definitely talk about that. But I just feel like at its current state, what you're playing, it seems a little too complex to
I
have
100% agree.
The feature mode. As for like the chaos type stuff, I think that just scratches an itch for a certain type of player base. It doesn't scratch an itch for me at all. I hard avoided that stuff when it was available, but I know it's scratched. Dreklo over here. I know it's scratched an itch for some players, so I get why it's featured. Man, it's not for me, but I understand why it's featured every now and again.
What do you think, Drake?
I like order to my chaos. I was actually not a fan of 128 Breakthrough, and I know everyone's like, it's the best chaos. That was too much for me. It felt like overwhelming and uncoordinated. So 128 Rush, to me, as much as it must have been a huge hit, I didn't play that. I didn't even know that was a thing, actually. I didn't know there was a thing like with what EK was saying about the slight jank to the choosing of classes. But I think a more battlefield catered, thing other than like we have gun game. Like, okay, gun game's cool. I know Gunmaster was a huge thing, in Battlefield, 3 DLC when that came out. But like, an actual core Battlefield experience with classes sounds awesome. and I don't know what's taking them so long. If you're telling me it's already out in Portal, in a way,
Yeah.
I think a community-driven, stuff that's more Battlefield focused sounds really cool. With whatever that means, really. I just don't know if like free for all is a really Battlefield focused like core experience. That's like a
Yeah.
core experience of COD. But yeah,
Yeah. The core experiences are always been Conquest. Conquest
yeah,
is the open battlefield, planes, vehicles,
yeah,
boats, like anything you can imagine. All these other extra things are like for close quarters itch, what Call of Duty kind of has. They want to get those players over, and kind of like what Call of Duty is doing now. They kind of want to get those Battlefield players over, from Modern Warfare 2019 and for Modern Warfare 2, just kind of building on that whole open war battle kind of thing. So, they're kind of, picking and choosing
this is
from that. But yeah, those little game modes are just extra things, especially for a live service. Like just put it in there.
yeah. I was gonna say slight deviation, but like
Sure.
I just thought about this. Conquest, right? That's like always been the staple of Battlefield, always.
Always.
Yeah.
But people also love Rush and Breakthrough. Personally, I like Rush and Breakthrough when the maps are designed for it. I like when maps are designed for the mode I'm going to play. Like Bad Company 2 excelled. Bad Company 1 excelled because it was like, you're going to play Valparaiso Rush and you're going to play a different Conquest map and it's not going to be the same map because doesn't work that way. Do you guys think it's like, I don't know, talking about core experiences, do you think it's healthy to have like every map be universal for every game mode? I don't feel like that works.
No.
At least for me.
That has never really worked. So if you take Conquest Battlefield games up until, there was 2042. I mean, up to 2142, there was Conquest and Conquest Assault, and then with each game they had a Conquest Large, a medium size, and a Conquest Small 16-player map for most of the maps. And you can kind of deviate the server numbers and still have, 64 players on a 16-size map if you wanted. You can do crazy things like that. Rush debuted, I believe, either with Bad Company 1 or Bad Company 2. I actually don't remember the multiplayer modes of Bad Company 1 too much because it was console. But it definitely debuted with Bad Company 2. And most of the game modes, most of the maps, were dedicated and made for that game mode and that game. And that's why people love playing Rush in that game, because the maps are designed perfectly for 30 to 40 players to play those maps really well. And at the same time, there were a couple maps that were tweaked to make them conquest oriented, and some of them worked well in Bad Company 2. Like Arica Harbor wasn't bad; it was a 3-flag map. But you have to remember, those conquest maps those maps that were turned from Rush to Conquest were also designed for 32 players in mind, and to take them up to a 64 level, like some servers did, made them really grindy and very chaotic. So they really doesn't work too well. On the other hand, you take maps like BF3 maps where they were designed with Rush in mind, and some of them didn't work out as well as Conquest because DICE decided to put way too many vehicles in those Rush maps. Think Tehran Highway, where a team starts with 3 tanks versus 2. Suddenly it's a very tank farmy map. Or BF4 had Rogue Transmission, which was a Rush map, had a lot of tanks and on it, and at the same time it was very flat, open, no real cover anywhere, and it was just another really bad Conquest map too, because it was designed with Rush in mind and it wasn't even a well-designed Rush map. So doing two things at the same time in the Battlefield series with Rush and Conquest really hasn't gone well, and I completely agree with your assessment of that.
Okay, that's just how I felt. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think that with 64-player maps, as your baseline, you could then add in and tweak certain elements of the map themselves to better play for the individual modes. You see that every now and again, but I don't think they do it enough. That's always been one of my big things. Is like, oh, you had a crate here, you had a crate there, had some sandbags here and there. You tweak it, it's perfect for that mode. They just don't want to do that. I don't know what's stopping them, if it's a resource thing or a time thing, but I think more of that would go a long way.
And I think they should focus on 2 modes per Battlefield game and not kind of divvy it out and kind of go crazy trying to make every map accumulate, accustomed to every single game mode. like what the EK says, I think you should focus and start on conquest, make the big map, make the flags as necessary, make the cover in between the flags, and then from that you can either transition to breakthrough or rush and kind of add new features for that version of the map as needed. And I think that's the better way to go, in my opinion.
Okay, well, I bring this question to you guys. 128 players. Let's just get this cat out of the bag. Is it possible to have fun with 128 players? Let's say that magically the map is good,
Yes.
right? Is that it?
I
The
think
map is good,
I
and
think-
thus 128 players works? Like, I don't understand, because I don't get it.
So I actually
can't
had this
figure it out.
conversation with my chat a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that 128 players can work on a Battlefield game, but the map
Okay.
has to be perfect. The flag distances need to be perfect, and you need to have limited vehicle numbers in certain areas of the map to split out the tanks from swarming 4 to 8 tanks in an area. So, in the way that 2042 does it is really not at all what really needs to be done. The
Not
other,
close. Okay,
yeah, it
gotcha.
doesn't come close to it. But I believe it can be done. Now, should it be done? No, because in a conquest game, in a Battlefield game, just in typical conquest, you have a lot of vehicles that are available to a team anyway. 2 tanks, 3 tanks. If you start wanting to push that boundary, 2 attack helicopters, 3 attack helicopters, 2 really powered transports, as your player count increases, you want to add more vehicles, and it gets worse. And the ability for one team to completely stomp another one with using the vehicles that are available just completely skyrockets, and it's so much harder to balance. So in that regard alone, I would never want 128 players on a Battlefield game. I would keep it capped at 64.
Vince Zampella seems pretty ambitious. You think he would want to tackle something like that?
Are we gonna hit the most ambitious Battlefield game next? Again? We do that again?
Why do I feel like he wants to outdo the previous game? Like he wants to make it crazy.
I mean, that's not difficult to do, but this ambitious one. I just think that
For me,
128,
Right.
there's just tech limitations. You know, I don't want to be playing on 30, 25 hertz servers on 128 players. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be on 64 with a higher tick rate or refresh rate servers.
Technology, okay.
I'd want to do that instead. It just feels better to play, even if like I can kill more things on 128. It doesn't matter. It just feels terrible to play.
A big thing for me to go along with the tech limitations is one thing that I have to always remember, and even this is still true for the new COD. These games are still being made for PS4 and Xbox 360. There's like
No more.
ancient or not 360, Xbox One or whatever, like ancient technology. So they're still making like these maps for like, they still have to consider all that. And I feel like until they really throw it out, like I still don't even know if 128 would work per se. Because what if they made 128, and it's this is just for the new technology, the new tech. Like, could they make it work? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I agree with EK too with like the take rate.
There's no way they're gonna have last gen for the next Battlefield game. There's
Oh no, there's
They're
no
going
way.
to try. I mean, they not
Throw
last
it
gen
out.
here,
Throw it
but
out. Yeah.
it depends on what we consider last gen when the next game comes out. And that'll be the weird part. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. You really think the PS5 is gonna be old gen by the time the next Battlefield game comes out?
Depends what they want to do with it. I mean, really.
Well, it could be.
He says he wants to take his time. He said.
Remember that there's a rumor about how the next one might be a campaign only type of game. That could work on old gen, I suppose, but it's not what we want.
No,
Did
I
you
mean
guys
that would
ever
go.
play-
There's no way. It would go directly to what against what Vince said of like what Battlefield is. He knows Battlefield is not just a campaign game. Like,
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
For me, like I said, I've been following Vince since he started work on Medal of Honor, and then he started Infinity Ward, and like up until Modern Warfare 2, and then Titanfall, which became like my favorite FPS before they turned it into Apex, which was still a good, like a really good game. It's very successful.
Really good game.
Vince for me has always hit out of the park. Like every game he's ever made has always hit, like he's been a part of. So I'm really happy to see him be a part of this team. I just hope he doesn't have too much on his shoulders with Apex, Titanfall, Fallen Order, whatever they got going, more Star Wars FPS. But with that being said, with 128 in mind, did you guys ever play a game called Mag on PS3?
I've heard about it. No, I heard about it, but I did not play it.
it was 128 v 128, 256 players, and it worked really well. It was made by the SOCOM developers, Zipper Interactive. You had platoons, you would come in, the vehicles would drop people off. You had squads broken down into platoons. You had 3 factions you choose from, and the maps were full of cover. It was insane. I'm like, it came out in 2010, and it played amazingly.
Cover?
Yes, so much cover. It was like, what's going on here? Is this a kaleidoscope rework? What is this? So, and they made it work, but that wasn't Battlefield. So I don't know. They didn't Patrick Box say they did like a survey, and they're like, we tested out things past 64 players and it never felt good, so we kept it to 64 or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
It said it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Or one of them said that.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. Yeah.
Oderlin or something said that. I'm not sure.
I just brought up that mag gameplay. Here you go.
Mag, yeah.
This was on PS3. It was 128 v 128. It was huge.
Was free, right? Wasn't it a free game or no?
No, but I would buy it at $60 with the same graphics right now to play because I want an FPS like this again.
I'm just looking at dozens of people stacked in an area. It just looks. I mean,
no, that's a bit different than what I remember.
I'm getting 128.
It was a while ago. it was a while ago. Okay, it was a while ago. But it worked better than 128 in this game did, is what I would say.
Man, we've come a long way. A long way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then this all unraveled into battle royales and what we can do with that. But that's a different type of game mode, right? Increasing player count for that makes your chances of winning even smaller, and it's more intense, you know. And then when you do win on when there's like 120 players or something for a battle royale, it feels even better. All right, let's wrap it up right there. Thank you so much to EnergizedIII and Dreklo for joining us on this episode 3, season 4 of the Battlefield Show. It's a refreshed Battlefield Show. I hope you guys enjoy your time. EnergizedIII, where can people find you? What are you up to these days?
Just EnergizedIII, all platforms. Lately, just playing a lot of 2042. Looking forward to Modern for 22 coming out. I've been cooking on my stream, new apartment. Been using the entire kitchen to my benefits. Every now and again, I appear on Dreklo's stream, and every now and again, he's on my stream. So you can find us both at EnergizedIII, and then also at Dreklo as well.
And Dreklo.
Yeah, you can find me basically everywhere as Dreklo, as well Twitch, YouTube. If you want to go back 10 years and watch my BF3 Company 2 montages on YouTube, those are there as well. But yeah, that would be awesome. I know you guys would appreciate that. But yeah, I mostly play Battlefield, but I've kind of taken a break playing a lot of new FPS. We got Gundam.
Oh,
nope, lost your audio.
And we got Gundam. Yeah.
And we lost Dreklo's audio. Yep. There we go.
Oh, okay.
He knows.
We'll edit this out.
It's back. My mic does that sometimes.
Okay,
no, but
okay.
Shadowline, we got Gundam coming out. Ground War with Modern Warfare. We'll see how that is. Maybe all 4 of us can play the Ground War beta when it comes out next month or week.
I'm down.
But
I'm
yeah,
off next week.
thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, as I said, I think we're off next week. I'll be in LA. Gravity, I think you're doing something as well. So no Battlefield show next week, but hopefully we'll plan for some others in the weeks after. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Go follow the socials. They're down below. Leave a comment. Subscribe for more shows coming up soon. Leave that like on there as well. This will be featured on all podcast platforms, and you can watch us on the YouTube as well. Just search the Battlefield Show. Links are in all of our Twitters and whatnot. Go check it out. Let us know what you think. Rate and review on the podcast platforms as well. That helps out a lot. But yeah, anyway, Gravity, thank you so much for coming in as my co-host. And EnergizedIII and Dreklo, we will see you soon. And we'll catch all y'all on the next Battlefield show. Have a good one.